Okay, this is the second of two videos in which I show you how to make a repeating pattern using Illustrator and then Photoshop. So I had drawn everything out in Illustrator, and this is my pattern motif document. I got my background color, I got a flag motif, I've got the sword, and I've got the shield. And I'm going to go into Photoshop because this is where I'm going to create my repeating pattern. This is one that I had created already. And you'll see that when I make a new one, it's going to have a little bit of a different look to it, just by how I end up arranging things in the space. But I'm going to go to File and New to create a new Photoshop document. And I'm going to name this Repeat. And actually, I'm going to add a couple of initials to that to make it a different document from my other one, but Repeat pattern. And I'm going to change this to inches. I'm going to go 10 inches wide by 10 inches high. And I'm going to change the resolution to 300 pixels per inch. So I say create. Okay, there's the new square. And I do need some guides on this one to help me with the cutting and the rearranging that I'm going to have. So I'm going to go up to View, and then I'm going to say New Guide, and you can position it. So we're going to do this one horizontal. I'm going to position this at 5 inches, and then I'm going to do the same View, New Guide. With Photoshop, you can also drag your guides out from the side, but this might help you with just getting things exactly where you want it to be. So 5 inches horizontal. Okay, so I've got that. And then I'm going to start bringing these elements from my pattern motif document, which was the part one of it, into this part two, which is the actual repeating pattern. So I'm going to go back here, and I'm going to copy the blue. I'm going to go to Photoshop. So I've selected the blue back here, and then Command C to copy it. And then I go to Photoshop and Command V to paste it. It's going to give me an option to paste it in a couple of different ways. I'm just going to go with pixels because we're going to be cutting this all up. So I'm going to paste that, and then I'm going to stretch it to fit the space. So that's going to be my background color. And then hit Enter to apply it. And I'm going to go bring these over one motif at a time and then rearrange. So I'll start with the shield, and Command C to copy that. Go into Photoshop, Command V to paste it as pixels. Gonna let me resize it. So I'm gonna go kind of big on this and see how that turns out. So I rescale it, and then I hit Enter. And then I want to merge these two layers together because I'm going to cut them. So I hold Shift, select the two layers, and then I'm going to go to Layer and then merge the layers. All right, then I'm going to use underneath the Move tool, I use the rectangular marked key tool to make a selection. I'm going to select the right-hand side. The guide is going to snap right there, and you can see the little pink lines I was getting as it was snapping to the space. And then I'm going to go to Layer. I'm going to go New Layer via, and I could just do New Layer via Cut. Layer via Copy was what I did in Photopea, which would work too, but I'm just going to go to Layer via Cut. And now we have the two sides of it. It's like we took a piece of paper and we cut it in half, just like we did when we did that tutorial before. And then I arrange this, and I'm trying to use those pink lines to make sure that I'm getting everything lined up nice and square. And then I take those two layers, I hold Shift, and I'm going to go Layer, Merge Layers to bring them back together. I'm going to go back to Illustrator and bring in my second motif. So I'm going to bring in the do the flag this time. Command C, copy that. Go into Photoshop. Command V to paste it as pixels. Make this nice and big. I don't want it going off of the document. Holding Shift to keep it. I'm going to try a little overlap on this one. Just a little bit. All right, hit Enter to apply that. And then I'm going to take the two layers and I'm going to go to Layer, merge the layers to bring them together. And then I'm going to take the rectangular marquee. I'm going to select the top. Again, use that those pink lines, let it snap to the guides. Layer, New. I'm going to make a new layer via cut. This is layer up on the menu bar, layer via cut. And then I'm going to take this and drag this one down. I'm going to take the bottom one, drag that one up. Use it to snap. Okay, looking good. And then I go back to Illustrator again. I'm going to take my sword, Command C, back to Photoshop, Command V, paste it as pixels. Okay. Rotate this a little bit, scale it up. Again, I don't want it going off of the page. I want to keep it nice and big, but there we go. And you can't rearrange the other elements at this point. You kind of have to go with what you have. But if you want to, change and try another version of it at any point in time, that's, you'll get a different result. Like you'll see that this one is going to look different from the one that I had earlier. So, all right, so I've got that set. That looks good. I hit Enter, and now I'm going to select Shift, select all those layers. Actually, I can just go up to Layer, up above, and then flatten the. I'm going to merge these layers. Merge the layers. There we go. All right, so there's my tile, and I'm going to resize this. Command T or Control T or Edit Transform, and then holding Shift, I'm going to make it fit this space to the guide. If it isn't snapping, you just got to make sure that you're like right there. I could even zoom in. Oh, too much. Okay. Move that out, get it right to the guide. Looks good. And hit Enter. And now I'm going to go up to Layer at the menu bar and then duplicate the layer. Say OK. And this is the first thing. So the first part was to make a repeating pattern design that is tiled 4 times. So that's what we're doing right now. I'm just going to go and make sure that this is lining up well. So you see I had a little bit of a gap there, so I want to make sure, zoom in real close, make sure it's all lined up. And then I can take these two and I could actually go Layer. I selected them both, held Shift. Layer, duplicate layers. Okay. So I made a copy of that, and then I drag this down. Zoom in again. Make sure that you even use the ruler and or the arrows and just line it up. You want to make sure all your seams are really clean. Cool. And I've got, so that's my repeating pattern design. So I can merge all of these together. So I'm going to highlight, select all the layers, layer, merge layers. And then if you want this, even more, because so the repeating pattern, you can continue to just multiply it and tile these things together, and it'll just keep going. So I gave you the gave you the option to just do the 4 tiles, but you can also do 16 tiles, and that gets you a few more points there. So to do that, I would go layer, duplicate the layer. Oh, actually, I want to resize it first, so let me delete that. Delete that one, Control T or Edit Transform. Got to scale this down again. And I can use these guides. This is why these guides are really useful. Zoom it in, make sure that I'm ordinarily with the whole guide thing, it'll just snap to it, but if I go to view, yeah, snap to guides, it's on, but it's not snapping the way I'd like it to, but that's all right. I go to layer, duplicate the layer. Okay. And now I got my copy. And again, I'm gonna just zoom in, make sure that things are lined up nicely. That looks pretty good. And I'm gonna take that one and layer, duplicate the layers. Okay. Drag the other copy down, and now I've got what would be 16 tiles repeating. That's looking great. So when I'm done, I want to go to layer, flatten the image if I want to be finished with it, and I'm going to go File and Export As. And you can choose to do a PNG or a JPEG. PNG is good for things that are like graphics, so I'm going to keep it at a PNG, and then I'll say export and save it in my downloads or desktop. All right, and then that I can upload to the Google Classroom assignment and turn in. And that's it.